Hello everyone, Squee here, and welcome to episode 5 of Curse of the Crimson Throne. What? What do you mean I'm a week late? No, I'm not. You're a week late. Nailed it. Sorry. Editing takes time, and time is something that is a luxury of mine, not a luxury of mine. Wait, what's the saying? How's the saying go? Not a I don't have it. I got no time. So things are going to be a bit more on a flexible schedule. I'm still wanting to get you an episode a week, though every time I seem to set myself a goal, something happens with my job or something where I don't quite make the goal. So suffice to say, let's just say that we will have a steady stream of these episodes going up on a regular basis. The goal is once a week. But some good news. I've spoken with the other players, and we're going to start rotating who makes these entrances. So it won't always just be me that you have to deal with at the beginning and ending of each episode. It'll be the other players as well. So if you guys have any questions for specific players, by all means, leave them in the comments, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer them. Should be good times. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Curse of the Crimson Throne, Episode 5. Children are the future. So, you've got a bunch of dead corpses, you've got the treasure, you've got Lita, and you have a bunch of orphans headed towards Muri's house, you think. What's your next step?
Muri's going home.
Yeah, Otto's going home.
Otto doesn't... Oh, wait,
quote,
right,
unquote,
okay,
home.
Got it.
Otto's taking Lita home.
I understand.
Miri is going to pause on her way out and ask Lita if she would like to see her friends.
Lita would nod her head vigorously and say, "Yes, please. Are they okay?"
They are. To my
I guess
knowledge.
we'll go find out. I guess we're going to Muri's home. Weary's home.
Yep.
Okay.
So Arlen just follows along.
All right. Two things. Thing number 1, congratulations, you are all now level 2.
Yay!
Oh, wait. Can I interject something before we continue on? You had
Sure.
mentioned a whole bunch of chests and stuff upstairs in some of those rooms that we haven't looked through.
Very,
And we had
Is that a
true.
total waste of time, or should we
bodies
do that?
either.
No, it's not a total waste of time. If you go and check on your way out,
Yes.
give me a second. I will tell you what.
Because there were desks and chests.
Miri
and who knows what all that. Could be
is
something.
not going to loot the upstairs. She will ask Otto for Lita, and she will go home.
Otto's not letting her go unless Lita refuses, but I still want something to potentially lead us to Gadrian Land.
So Arlen will suggest, Murray, if you give me your address and I can kind of look through the stuff here, Otto, if you want to go with her, and I'm sure eventually I'll be able to find it. I mean, it did take me 6 hours to get here, but you know,
Amelia will help
to walk 2
Arlen
blocks, but
look through, and she will also help her find her way through the city.
Miri gives her kind of a deadpan look and says,
Alright,
"It's the
okay.
only one on the street with scorch marks."
well, it did take me 6 hours to go 2 blocks earlier.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'll go as well.
Miri will give
Alright.
her address.
Okay. This won't take too long. The cabinet. Okay, you search most of the chests. You don't find much, but there is a cabinet towards the back of the room that is locked. Does anyone have disabled device?
Yes.
Would you please roll me that?
If I can find my mouse. Woohoo!
Wow.
Our little rolls a 24.
You very expertly, even without thieves' tools, managed to disable the lock. And inside, you find that it holds 6 small pouches, 4 of which contain 50 copper pieces each, and 2 of which contain 50 silver pieces each. Now you know that money in Pathfinder goes... Hang on a second. I'll actually pull it up. But it's 100 copper pieces per gold coin and 10 silver pieces per gold
Sorry,
coin.
that was 4 with 50 copper and 2 with 50 silver?
Correct. So it basically you find about 12 gold pieces worth of.
Yay!
And that's all.
Buy lunch.
That is all you find in those rooms.
Do we find anything on the
Yeah,
bodies?
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Hang on a second. On Hookshanks. Where be Hookshanks?
He be dead.
Yeah,
you
he'd be
find
at
on the
hell.
gnome. Yeah. You find studded leather, a masterwork cookery, which Miri is quite well acquainted with, a disguise kit, and 7 gold pieces. On the pirate, you don't find much of anything, but on Giggles... Give me a second. On Giggles, you find 3 potions of Cure Light Wounds, chainmail, a composite longbow of +3 strength, 20 arrows, a flail, and 72 gold pieces.
I hope someone else got that because I don't write that fast.
You're going too fast. Composite longbow, what?
Sorry. With a +3, basically +3 strength means that you can add up to +3 strength modifier. So what a composite longbow does is it allows you to add your strength modifier to the damage roll up to +3.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I thought it
as 20
automatically
arrows.
added +3 strength to it, and I was
No,
like, damn.
no. You
Arrows
have
or
to-
bolts?
Arrows. Flail, and 72 gold pieces.
Okay.
And how much gold was on Hookshanks?
7.
7?
Mm-hmm.
You should probably dump them in the river too, really, just to be safe.
Yeah, all the bodies she kind of just dumps over
Okay.
to feed the shark
Sure.
fishies.
So
But not the dog.
like I
He
said-
was a good boy.
No, the dog's good.
like I said, welcome to level 2. And my other question is, are we wrapping up for the night, or are we continuing to go?
I can keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
My wife's out of town. I have nothing else to do.
Otto?
I'm always up late, man.
All right, late night. Here we go.
Can we take one quick break though?
Of
Yeah, I
course.
need to
Yeah,
get some
let's-
water real
BRB.
quick.
Let's. All right. So we never really discussed where your orphanage was located within the city.
We said Old Corvosa.
Old Corvosa. Okay, good. Well then,
Which means my
What
walk
we'll
was very
say-
short.
we'll say that it's not going to be in the worst of the ghettos. We'll say that your orphanage, what's left of it, is here.
About what time is it now?
Oh gosh, it's like 2 a.m.
Awesome.
So
All
let
the
me draw a
ruffians
little
are out.
Yeah, I was
Better
gonna
be
say.
careful.
All the drunk people are out and about.
Oh shit. Alright, so you said it's right here?
That's
this house.
Yeah.
Oh, what's
so
that?
yeah, the remains of that house.
Oh. This one.
Uh-huh. So, we can go ahead and just narratively say that you all make your way that direction. It's like 2 a.m. by the time that you get there. It's not a very long walk. Otto and Miri would be the first ones to arrive. You see, you get there, and it's very quiet. But you do hear down the street, Flack, go this way. You sure it's this way?
Oh, Jesus.
Flack went this way before, Flack thinks. And you hear like just a long sigh of like congregations. Yes, it's this way.
Weary will call out to them. In fact, it's this way.
Oh, Owl Lady! Owl Lady! And he'll start trotting Toby and the line of children towards you. Oh, you still live. Good, very good. Flack-like. Flack no find home, though. Flack-like scratches his head.
Weary kind of gestures to the shell of the house. It's not in terrible, awful repair. She's done some work on it. But the timbers are definitely blackened, and some of them are rotted. Ivy has grown up the sides of the house, and you can see into it. The upper floor has pretty much fallen away. It's a 2-story house, or it was. The upper floor has essentially collapsed, leaving a very small margin of floor. And the lower floor, the actual wood that was in the floor has totally burnt away. So there's just essentially 4 walls and part of a roof. and the big support beams that were from part of the ceiling have largely been replaced. But the ones that fell during the fire have not been moved just because they're huge.
Right.
So it's created this kind of... there's a couple big timbers that have fallen, which have created sort of her way to get up to the top floor, which is where she sleeps. Since there aren't stairs anymore. When you get inside, there's all kinds of moss and flowers and just grass growing everywhere because pretty much only half of the roof really remains. So the rest of it is just, sun and rain falling on dirt, which grows flowers. In the middle of it, there's this big stone that is actually a pile of many stones that have all been fitted together into sort of like a dome. And then there's sort of a wooden framework inside if you were to remove some of the stones. There's small cracks in it. It's a beehive, quite clearly. But it seems very ornate for what it is. And it's weird that it would be in this particular spot.
So one thing you notice, Otto, is that Weary was offering you a place to stay, but you see that she's not in much better state than you are.
Hey, it's got there is a functional kitchen on the ground floor.
Yes, I was gonna say that is the one thing though, is that I assume it's the first thing Weary would have worked on. There is a functional kitchen still under the section that still has a roof.
It doesn't even drip all that much. It's awesome.
Half roof's better than no roof.
So Flack would help. Well, actually, not Flack. Toby would actually help usher the kids in. I assume you have like lamps and the like, correct?
Oh, yeah.
You can light the place up. All right. About this time, Arlen and Amelia catch up. About the time you get all the kids in there, and Flack would go to Miri and he'd say, "Need blankets. Gonna be cold."
Muri's in the middle of she's taken the beehive off her back and set it inside the top of there's a slot on the top, and she set it inside the larger stone bee house, and you can hear them sort of shuffling around. She does look up when he says that, and she kind of without word or notice trots up she climbs up the older timbers to the top floor and starts tossing down blankets.
Flack tries to catch one.
Oh, roll.
Envelops him. No, it envelops him. He's like 2 feet tall. But the other kids start helping, and they start making like makeshift beds, talking amongst themselves. They are quiet. They're not in a very jovial mood.
They've been walking
everything
for
they've just
quite
been
a
through.
while. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah. They're very tired, but they also sound somewhat hopeful. And once they get settled in, you'll notice Flack is staring at Amelia. And he eventually goes up, he scratches his head, and he goes, Flack have question. Flack no Blondie? I mean, you know Blondie?
Amelia frowns at him and goes, I beg your pardon?
Blondie. Do you know Blondie?
I know many.
Friend of Flack. Save Flack's life. Should get Blondie. Blondie has blankets. We'll get Blondie. Toby! And he, like, hops on Toby and rushes out of there.
Amelia just kind of stands there, mouth like half open, as she was trying to get the sentences out as he continued to speak, and then as he like rushes off, she just closes it and just watches after him with a very, very confused look.
And Otto asks, who's Blondie?
I don't know. I mean,
why does he think you know?
I don't know. Perhaps they're also... I don't know.
Arlen says, well, I guess we just have to wait and find out. As she puts her arm around Amelia.
Amelia stiffens and becomes very, just like, rigid as a board.
When that happens, Arlen just kind of reaches over and like pats her on the stomach, and it's like, it's alright, you'll get used to me.
She flinches visibly.
Moiri is actually prying up one of the flagstones that's over by, that's over in the kitchen. The kitchen did have a stone floor, and that survived, so there's about a good 2-foot gap between the stones and the floor where it is now, the dirt. And she's prying up one of the stones, and she's pulling out, it looks like it was a rudimentary fridge, and she's now pulling out eggs and fish and several bags of small green things and just like a couple heads of lettuce, and she's just pulling out a bunch of food, and she is starting a fire and puts a huge pot. It's like half her size. It's enormous, and you can see that this is the buckler. This is where it comes from. This is the pot that the lid belongs to. And she's starting to put a bunch of fish in there and chop up a bunch of the vegetables, and she's just kind of like quietly, she's not really making a whole lot of noise, but she's sort of talking to herself in a language that you don't really understand as she does so.
One of the children would very quietly come up to the group and would, they seem to be the oldest one, they're about 12, and they say, I'm sorry, we were just wondering, where do we go now? What happens? We don't have families or homes. We're orphans. Are we going to work for you now?
Well, Arlen kind of looks at the kid and, everybody's got to come from somewhere at some point. You mean you don't remember at all?
Moiri kind of sighs.
Before?
And she says, not everyone has somewhere they can go back to.
No. I'm not saying you can go back to, but you had a beginning. I mean...
My parents died in an accident.
Well, that's okay. You got a place now. You know?
Moiri falls very silent. And she abruptly pauses what she's doing. It is not safe for them to stay here.
Well, shit. Yet here we are.
All right.
Okay.
For
so
the
what
time
is the
being,
plan then?
but this is not a permanent solution.
All right. So,
Hmm.
do you know another place that would be safe?
Would Moiri know of other orphanages that would be able to help?
Yes, there are
In safer
other
locale.
orphanages. Here's the thing. There are other orphanages. There are a few in Midland.
Mm-hmm.
They are usually overcrowded and flowing. One of the reasons why Miri made an orphanage herself is because while the orphanages weren't cruel by any means, they certainly weren't up to what your standards would be for caring for a child. Miri's in particular. It seems that Corvosa is not the most compassionate when it comes to orphanages. There are the Church of Abadar. Abadar does send people by on a regular basis to make sure that the children aren't being mistreated or anything, but they live very dull, not well cared for lives simply because the orphanages don't have the money needed or the room needed to house the orphans. That was part of the reason why you started one.
Okay, question. How much, I don't know what a gold gets me in this world. So tell me, how much would it cost to fix this orphanage? Roughly.
Well,
there's
a couple of things.
The reason that Moiri doesn't want kids here is because this already got burned down once, and all of her kids got taken away from her because of Gadrian Lamb. She doesn't want that to happen again.
Okay.
Why did Gadrian... I guess we're going in character here, but so why did Gadrian Lamb burn this orphanage down?
She gestures to the large stone beehive in kind of the middle of the floor. My husband had something of his. He took my children.
Okay,
I know not where.
So we take out Gadrian, and then we can make this place safe again?
I suppose that's one step in the process.
We don't know if taking out Gadrian will take a week or a month. So...
He is a man of many evils, and evils always have roots. This will be a long process.
Amelia...
yeah, absolutely.
Amelia pipes up and goes, there is also his son to consider. And her voice is extremely bitter as she speaks.
When I find that weasel, we won't have to worry much about him.
Didn't know he had a son? Sorry, son? What do you...
More like a snake in the grass.
Okay.
Okay. I can't tell if that was really trying to be a pun and it just wasn't working, or that was just a really bad
just
metaphor.
No, more like a... I think that lowly of him. He's I think so little of him, and I detest him.
Arlen's face is very bitter when she says that.
Yes.
Yeah.
She cannot stand this guy. He's disgusting and detestful, and I would love nothing more than to I hold him on equal standing with
So
Adrian.
does his son help him run this business, or how do you guys know him?
His son worked with my brother, and I think I hold him equally responsible for my brother's death.
And Amelia?
How do you know his son? Amelia?
Amelia is very quiet, and she's just sort of standing away from everyone else, hugging her arms around her chest and just staring at the ground, essentially. And it's a look of pain and also a little bit of shame on her face as she shies away from the group.
So when Arlen sees this, she kind of goes over to her and like stoops down in front of Amelia and like looks her in the eye, and it's like, we're all here for a reason. We all have something in common. You can share with us. We've spilled blood together. We'll work together. What's going on? You know, she's like ducking down to look at Amelia in the eye so she can't, like, Amelia can't hide.
It takes a moment, and eventually Amelia swallows, and the start of tears are in her eyes, and she looks at Arlen and then looks away and says, my sister, she and I knew him. I worked for him for a time.
So Arlen kind of grabs Amelia in a hug, you know, and it's like, it's okay. You're among family.
Wait, you worked for him?
Like, who is him, and what do you mean?
Amelia begins to tremble, and the tears become like a bit. They start falling full force, and she says, when you are poor and there's nothing, you will do anything, and
it's
Arlen breaks. Oh, wait. Arlen interrupts, and like she can sense Amelia's hesitation, and she kind of like stops and she says, "Look, there's no judgment. What's done and what's in the past is in the past. And if you have information that'll help us, just spit it out. You know, because let's go forward from here. You stood with us. You went with us. You've spilled blood with us. We trust you. We won't judge you."
It's at this point that Miri is going to hand Arlen a potato and say, "Peel, busy mouth. Not all of us wish to relive our worst days. If she wishes to tell us, she will do so in time."
Fair enough. And Arlen kind of backs off and just starts peeling potatoes.
As you do that, you start hearing coming down the road, because it's been about 20 minutes or so. This way, I think. Flack thinks. And then you hear like a obviously feminine voice go, "Flack, it's so early in the morning. Why are you dragging me out here?" And right about that time, you see Flack riding on top of Toby, who is now laden down with blankets. followed, or walking beside Toby is a young blonde girl. Give me a second. I will throw up a picture. Who, despite the early hour and the obvious tired eyes, has a cheerful smile when she sees you. And Flack comes in and says, Blondie, brought blankets. And you see she's probably in her mid-20s, short blonde hair, human, and has strange eyes. One of them is brown, and one of them is gray. And she comes in and she says, I'm sorry, Flack told me that you needed blankets.
They are appreciated.
What's going on exactly?
A rescue of sorts.
Arlen.
Amelia quickly wipes away the tears that she's been crying and sort of turns away from everyone else to kind of try and gather herself.
Arlen holds up a potato and did Murray give her something to peel with potatoes?
Yeah, she's got a small paring knife.
Okay, good. Arlen holds up the potato and peeling knife and says, peeling potatoes. Anybody want hash browns?
They are not for hash browns. They go in the pot.
Damn it. One little bit of hash browns, maybe? It's early, come on.
You find me oil, you find me a frying pan. We talk.
Alright. I will do that.
What's going on is we got about 9 kids with no place to go.
I see. And Flack, who's like hopping on one foot to the next. From the old dock, ones I used to give sweets to. They rescued them. What? Wait. Those kids on the dock were needed to be rescued? Flack, you never told me that. Oh. Didn't know Flack should. And she looks around and she says, so, wait. Well, thank you, I guess. I'm sorry. My name's Triana.
A pleasure.
Or, I'm sorry, Trinia. How do you pronounce that? Trinia. Trinia. My name's Trinia. Thank you. I guess any friend of Flack's is a friend of mine. Anyone who is a friend of mine.
How do you know?
And she goes around and starts shaking your hands.
Muri has fish in her hands.
She'll nod and keep going. She'll go to shake Arlen's hand.
Yeah, Arlen kind of wipes her hand off on her pants and thank you. Want a potato? Help me peel.
There will be soup for all.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not needed at the castle for a while, I suppose. I can help. She'll hold a hand out to Otto. Triniana.
Name's Otto. 2 questions. How do you know Flack and Castle?
Oh, Flack and I go way back. And Flack kind of chimes in. Saved my life! Yeah, apparently he was kicked out by his tribe and was left for dead. I couldn't stand to just let anyone, even a goblin, die, so I brought him back here to Corvosa and treated his wounds, and, well, he's not like other goblins, as I'm sure you can see.
Your mercy is admirable.
So, sorry. As this is going on, Arlen's kind of wondering, as a noble, would I know who this person is?
No.
Having some...
Yeah,
okay.
no, you don't know anything about them.
Okay.
Muri will hand this new person a carrot and point at Toby.
Oh. How did you know he liked carrots?
I didn't.
Oh, well, that's a very good guess then. As she says that, Toby has actually come up and stolen the carrot from her hand. And then he goes off to a corner somewhere and just like lays down and starts nibbling. And with that, Triniana goes up to Amelia and says, I'm sorry, we hadn't met. Oh, well, that's odd. I guess we have the same eyes. I don't see that very often.
Amelia, after having wiped away the tears and probably smudged a great deal of her makeup, would blink and stare at her and nod very quietly.
The rest of you, now that you see them like right next to each other, I mean, Triana's definitely human, but there is a resemblance there. Beyond the eyes, their hair is fairly similar in color, though Triana's is certainly much shorter. The expressions couldn't be more different. One is very cheerful, the other one's very reserved. But the shape of the nose, the set of the jaw, there's some similarities there.
So Arlen will ask, Triana, where are you from? Who's your family?
Oh, well, there's Flack and Toby and some of the other people in Old Corvosa. I was an orphan. Never knew my parents, sadly. Or not sadly, I guess I got over it a while ago. The Shingles are my home now. And you guys would know this living in Corvosa. I'm not going to make you roll for it. The Shingles are a unique oddity in Corvosa. So many of the houses are so close together, especially in Old Corvosa and other parts of town, that people have kind of built a second level to the city on the roofs of shanties and shacks, and people started living there when they had nowhere else to go, and so many people started living there that those dwellings became more permanent and more temporary dwellings built upon them. So the Shingles are like a city on top of the city. It's generally where very poor people go. A lot of times it's very dangerous. There's ne'er-do-wells there because it's easy to hide, but it's generally where the poorest of the poor live.
So Arlen kind of looks at her and cocks her head to the side and says, "If the Shingles are your home, what's your connection with the castle?"
Flack, who's still dancing from foot to foot, goes, "Artist, Blondie, artist, very good artist. Castle, no?" And with that, Triana kind of scratches her head and she says, "Yeah, I'm, like you said, I'm an artist, and I've been commissioned by the king to make a portrait of him. I've been working on it. It's nearly finished. I plan on probably finishing it today. I don't know why they chose me, but it's certainly an honor."
Moira is going to look up and look at Arlen and say, "The brooch."
Arlen will be, "Oh yeah, we found this this brooch that looks rather impressive, like it would be owned by somebody of nobility," and it's kind of like bluffing, like she doesn't know where it's from.
Okay. She looks at it. She goes, "Oh, well, that's very pretty. Yeah. If you say so. Sorry, I'm not very good with money. I usually spend it the second I get it, so I wouldn't know much about brooches or jewelry."
Where'd you get all these blankets?
I live in the Shingles. It's good to have blankets.
Arlen kind of laughs and says, "Yeah, I completely understand that. So this brooch, you wouldn't know whose it was? It doesn't look familiar. Have you seen anything around in the castle that looks similar, like a similar crest or picture depiction?
Well, I recognize the house drakes and imps. I mean, I don't think anyone in town wouldn't, but no, I'm sorry, I'm not good at that kind of thing. But you could always take it to Timronian. I'm sure he'd know. And
who is this Timronian you speak of?
Timronian. Timronian, Fraggle, Goonius, Zuber the Third. I don't know his name. He owns Timronian's Majestic Goods, the huge marketplace. You have to know about it. Have you never been there?
Arlen kind of looks to the others for help.
Should this be a knowledge local?
This would be a knowledge local, yes.
Okay.
Poor Otto. Doesn't have money to go to stores.
Yeah, Arlen rolls a 13. Otto rolled a 5. Maury rolled a 7.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't have money to go to stores either.
Yeah.
And Amelia rolled a 6. You guys haven't really been focused on shopping lately.
We have not. We are...
Crap, so obviously I'm not going to know.
So, yeah.
At your look of confusion, Triana will actually grab your hands and smile and say, "Oh, you have to go. It's a sight, and Timronian is the kindest, sweetest, strangest man you'll ever meet. I'll introduce you. I'm sure he would know probably where that brooch is from, and if not, I'm sure he'd give you a great price for it."
Excellent. Will you stay for breakfast?
Sure. I do have to go to the castle, but yeah, I would love to. Can I help?
Maury hands her a paper bag. It's quite heavy. It's about 1.5 pounds, maybe. And hands her a small curved tool. And says, "Devein them. Mind the legs."
Okay, she says, unsure. And takes them over
in the bag are about 1 pound of katydids. They're each about the size of your hand.
A pound of what?
Katydids. They're like big green bugs. They look like leaves and they've got spiny legs.
Oh, okay. She goes, "All right, I'll do my best."
So at this, Arlen is immediately intrigued and kind of stops peeling potatoes and has to go over to the bag and just what in the world? This is amazing. What are these?
Triana kind of looks at you unsure and opens the bag yeah, what?
Moiri kind of cocks her head. They're tree hoppers.
So Arlen just kind of takes them out, and you want me to, mind the legs, devein them? Is taking takes over the small tool and just...
So they've got kind of their wings are kind of encased in this waxy shell. And the tool gets under the shell and pops the soft body out. And then the inner part of the curved tool, a little bit like a shrimp, will essentially gut them, and then you have to pull off some of the legs are fine, but some of them are super gross and spiny, and you want to pull those off.
Arlen is absolutely fascinated and asks Murray, "Where are these from? Why have I never seen these? They're in
the trees. They look like the trees. They're called tree hoppers."
Ah, that would require me to go outside. That's it.
Triana quietly takes over peeling potatoes, relieved.
That was kind of Arlen's.
Yeah. Arlen, after attempting this a few times, roll me a. What craft skills do you have?
What craft skills do I not have now that I'm...
I've got cooking, but whatever else, I'm leaving up to you.
Do you have anything that's like, roll me like a blacksmith, I suppose.
Okay.
Didn't somebody get like a frying pan from the evil dude? Some Mastercraft something.
Pan?
That was
no.
not
There's
a
a
frying
Mastercraft shurkin,
there was
a Mastercraft
a
dagger,
Masterwork
and a
cookery.
Mastercraft kookery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a crooked pointy knife.
Oh, I heard
That's,
cookery,
hang on.
like as in cutlery.
Oh, you mean
It's
cookery?
Swinging
It's
around
this
crockery.
thing.
I heard
And
cookery, not
master
kookery.
made.
It's this thing.
Okay. Kookery.
Yeah, look at this thing. That's what it is.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
You could
Not
try and fry some hash
crockery.
browns on it.
Yeah,
Crockery.
I heard crockery is really what I heard, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn, they make Mastercraft frying pans. Awesome.
This is gonna fry me up some awesome shit.
Arlen rolled an 18. Arlen, not only are you getting the hang of it, but you're quite sure you could probably make a better device for doing this.
Yep, Arlen's kind of like really fascinated into popping off the shell with the little tool and let me like figure out how this works. This is fascinating and new stuff, and she's totally in her new knowledge and experimentation element.
Like, give me a few days, I could put a better hand grip on this. We can get some lever action going.
Absolutely.
Um,
And like casually pulls out a piece of like paper and a pen and is like writing down notes as she's going along. Yeah.
So at this time, all the kids are asleep, including Lita, who has fallen asleep with her friends over in the corner somewhere. Flack is curled. Okay, so Toby is curled up in a corner with Flack curled up against him, almost like the opposite of a dog and its owner.
Sorry, you haven't seen my dogs.
That's true. So it's basically my sister and Galen.
Yeah. My
who's
120-pound Italian
Jesus
Mastiff
Christ, that's
who
not a
likes
dog,
to
that's
like
a fucking
spoon
bear.
my head. Yeah.
You've got a small horse
Likes
walking
to
around your house, dude.
We call her a cow bear.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. I don't know if you can hear her right
Yeah.
I just
now.
heard a cow sound.
Someone's
No
talking
kidding, that
about
sounded
me.
like a fucking cow. What the hell?
that is Galen.
that's Galen always. When you hear a dog whining, that's Galen. She's a teddy bear.
Wow.
She
Does
is
she-
upset that I
Does
was
she
using
do
my
the
foot to pet
massive
her.
thing where they just produce like a metric shit ton of drool every time they're excited?
So if you show her food, she'll
Okay.
do that. She will drool, especially for carrots. When you were saying carrots, I'm like, oh, thank God I have my headphones in.
Oh boy.
And she can't actually hear that because, like,
the word is just a
to
trigger.
her, that's liquid crack.
Galen. Carrots.
Yeah, headphones, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
So all the children are asleep. Flack and Toby are asleep, and at some point, Triana, I guess, as Arlen is prying open the shells and all that, Triana would say, "Thank you for being so kind to Flack. He's used to much worse from the people here. Goblins are, for good reason, I suppose, seen as monsters."
Seems like a reasonable chap.
Yeah, it's thank you. I just wanted to say that. Look, if you ever need anything, I mean, I have some gold coming to me for the commission, and I do have a lot of free time. I can help. Say thank you. He's not the best at it, and, well, I feel responsible for him, so helping him is helping me, and, I don't know what your plans are for the kids, but I was an orphan myself once, and I know how to take care of them somewhat. I can help, if you need it.
Would you prefer to stay here?
Yeah, where is the question?
Well, it's better than the shingles, I suppose. Though, to me, home was always who you spent it with, and Flack's always been good company. Toby even better.
Mori kind of sits back on her haunches. It would be nice to have the home full again.
Then consider a helping hand. Yours. I mean, not the best with words.
So let me get this straight. You're offering to stay here and help take care of these kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sure. I still have to go to the castle, but I'm almost done with that commission, and until I find another, I would love to help. I mean, if they're gonna stay here, you're gonna have to build the place up, right?
It is hard with one pair of hands.
Partly what I was getting at
Arlen.
earlier, and my thought was to hire / recruit / whatever my wife so Lydia could stay here with her friends as well, because she has no gainful employment. And then
Your wife.
we have protection all under one roof.
Yes, it would be wise for you to take someone with you when you go to the castle.
Wait. Why? What's so... I've never had any problems at the castle. It's the castle. I mean, what's the most safer place in Corvosa than the Citadel, right?
Well, it is Corvosa.
Well, yeah, of course, but you don't get to be our age without learning how to take care of yourselves, right? I mean, I'm being unkind or ungracious. I would love the company, of course. Look, I know you don't know me very well, but the truth of the matter is I was an orphan once, and, well, I was given 10,000 gold for the commission of this portrait, which is more money than I know what to do with. She nods a little, like,
Jeez.
shy. And she
You
says,
must be a hell of an artist.
Well, I don't think it's that great, but my point was that Timronian, the guy I mentioned earlier, he can get anything, and, well, I'm sure he could help fix this place up, and I can't think of a better use for the money.
You are a very kind child. But I would ask that you think of yourself first. It is yours.
Well, I'd be staying here, right? So building up this home would be building up my home. Right?
Miri nods slowly.
Okay. All right. Well then, consider that thank you for rescuing the kids and being kind to my friend, who has too few.
Of course.
Well,
my only ask is that you be careful.
Arlen kind of looks over, like, what do you mean, Worry? What do you mean about being careful?
You have not told many people of this sum, have you?
Of the
Yes.
commission? No, of course not. That would be... I'm not foolish.
I know this.
You saved a goblin, some might disagree.
She thinks for a second, she says, that's a fair point. But Flack thinks he's a coward. He'd never harm anyone. Though, I'm sure the city wouldn't see it that way.
I have been in places where they think the same of me. I am sure here is better than elsewhere.
Oh, well, I don't see any reason that. I mean, you're very. She kind of like blushes. You have lovely feathers.
You give strange compliments, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, your wife, why don't you ask her to come here? You can both stay here, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not overstepping my bounds, am I? I thought...
Well, that's why I mentioned the hire, because the asking might be awkward or
Something about forgetfulness?
flat out rejected.
So Arlen says, I'm willing to donate a portion of what we found. I'm sure those 20 doses of shiver could go quite a long way for somebody's salary.
Are you trying to say my wife's some kind of drug addict?
No, I'm saying the money from turning in the shiver, 20 doses at 25 gold pieces each could go quite a long way towards somebody's salary.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I meant the monetary value, not the actual shiver.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, we wouldn't even need to pay her so much as just provide her with shelter and food for her and Lida. I mean, that's pay, essentially,
Not
right?
an issue.
So if we're actually running an orphanage here, then food and shelter is going to need to sort of be a thing anyways, right?
Yes.
But anyway. Yeah, I will ask her, just not at 3 a.m. Plus Lida's sleeping, so I'd probably go in the morning.
Yes.
Or
We will rest and have food, and then we will speak more in the morning.
So Arlen kind of looks over and is looking for Amelia and trying to figure out what she thinks, how she's feeling about all of this.
Yeah.
Moiri is still throwing things in the pot, and that includes the entire pile of katydids.
Amelia, this entire conversation, has kind of found a unoccupied corner of the building and has been reading through the ledger and attempting to decode it.
Okay. It's very easy for you. You helped make it. The code. It is useful and yet not useful. It is a list of old contacts, old crimes, old events. The problem is that while there's a lot here that you think the guards would probably be very interested in, there's nothing recent. So you have a plus sign?
So Arlen kind of looks at Amelia and says, "So what do you think? Are we running an orphanage here?"
She, as she's like realizing how essentially useless the book is to her at the moment, she just kind of like snaps it shut and makes a frustrated noise, and then blinks and looks up and goes, I'm sorry, what?
orphanage, children, roof, food, blankets.
Money?
That's not helping.
Which part?
All of it?
I think the
Carmine
kids
was
would
elsewhere.
disagree with you.
What?
Arlen says that, we did get a quite a bit of items that some of us could perhaps fence through Timronian?
Timronian.
Timronian.
Triana corrects you.
To help kind of fund an orphanage, if Murray's okay with that, if we help like kind of rebuild. But I don't want to, this, I think, the stuff we get and the money from that, I think it should be split amongst all of us. And with all of these kids, I'm sure that, like, having additional people or adults, however they may be over the age, that's debatable who's over the age or whatnot, like helping out and looking after them, and kind of looks to Murray like, do you want to be involved? Stick around.
The longer Arlen goes on, the more confused Amelia looks, and then eventually she, it seems to click, and she goes, of course, putting money towards the orphanage would be a very noble endeavor, but I have my mother. I have to make rent, and this would do amazing things for us.
No rent here.
I would have to talk to her about it.
That might be a conversation that some my team wants.
Yeah. And she kind of shifts uncomfortably in her corner.
Alright guys, sorry, give me like a minute. I have to take a real quick break and I'll be right back.
So many breaks,
right.
God damn it.
BRB, taking a break. LOL.
Yeah.
I love how you all are just like super on board with this happening, and meanwhile Murray's like, this place has already been raided once, like, I'm on the map.
We buy a
Arlen's
new building.
all about, like...
So much easier than just raising this one back from the dead.
Well, I mean, that's possible, but Arlen's, just so you guys know, metagaming, Arlen's like, I have no family, I have no connections anymore, so yeah, this would be awesome.
Well, Murray's kind of a little bit paranoid. I don't know if you guys have, like, been able to tell.
I picked up on that.
But she considers herself cursed. So if you come in contact with her, she considers herself like, you now need protection. I don't know who's watching me. Which is why she's like, you should have protection going to the castle. Plus, if you're from a poor place and you make regular trips to the castle, that's like automatically making yourself a target.
Welcome back.
Yep.
So that's her point.
Maybe when we start, like, recording or whatever, Arlen's gonna... I want to suggest, I have my brother's lab, and so those of us that are maybe adventuring and would maybe be a target, instead of having the orphanage be a base of operations, I would say Black Hall at the university be our base of operations. But this is totally something we need to discuss, like...
Yeah, my concern would be that if you're trying to split it like that, Moiri's always going to want to stay with the kids. So you're always going to have that party split, and that's always going to leave the orphanage as a target.
Yeah, but
you need to hire muscle.
You are the muscle, my dude.
Right, but if we're all out doing something, we need to hire muscle to stay home.
Or teach the kids to use a shiv. It's magic.
We have a dagger.
I'm glad we rescued these kids from a fish market so they could, learn to be mercenaries.
Jolly Rancher.
What the hell is a shuriken? We have a shuriken.
It's a throwing
masterwork.
Shuriken.
Okay.
Oh, shuriken. Okay.
Oh,
I heard
sorry,
jerkin,
guys.
and I was like, wow. Okay.
Masterwork jerkin.
Just a masterwork tunic.
Sorry, guys.
Yep.
Hagyun had to submit an assignment. I had to proofread it real quick, so...
Wow.
That was speed reading.
That fast?
Well, it was only a response.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like an essay, and I was like, "Damn."
No. It was a response in a form.
Okay, well, to that I say, hey Yoon, I have a PhD. Why am I not proofreading your stuff?
Oh,
Ouch.
I will let her know.
It doesn't help because it's chemistry.
I was gonna say, isn't your PhD more in numbers than proofreading?
Yeah. Well, but she's well, yeah, but she's a PhD. She's had to write more papers than all of us put together.
Quasi, maybe sort of related, but
Depends
yeah.
on if she had proofread her papers back in the day, I suppose.
True. But I wrote quite a few papers as a history major, I suppose.
Yeah, you probably wrote. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of our thing. We didn't have to do a lot of math. We just wrote a lot.
Why is this unavailable?
All right. So where were we? You guys.
Everybody
Okay,
suddenly
so-
jumped on the fucking orphanage train.
Oh no, Amelia's still like super hesitant. Like she's only saying, "Yeah, I'll talk to my mom to make people go like to back off." Essentially,
Murray's like, I don't know this kid. Jesus.
I honestly thought you guys were just going to deposit them in an orphanage somewhere.
Well,
that
hey,
was
let's
you
do
were all
it.
like,
thought.
we brought that up, and you were all like, "Oh, they're all really overcrowded." It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just true to the world that the orphanages in Corvosa aren't incredibly well run, and given Muri's character, that's part of the reason why she started one. That's not me trying to push a direction. That's me just telling you how it is, telling you how it be.
We're kind of metagaming. Let's kind of take a break for a second, like metagaming, because it's like, is that actually a viable option to push these kids somewhere else? To have, like, can we find a place for them to go, or should we actually is that an option, or do we need to
we can at least
figure out a
like
place
put
in
out
orphanage?
feelers.
Here's what I can tell you. So any orphanage in Corvosa needs to have a license to operate as an orphanage, because the Church of Abadar does check on them to make sure, like I said, to make sure the children aren't abused and that they meets certain minimal standards, and I do mean minimal standards.
And guess who doesn't have one?
No, Miri would
Oh, did
have
she?
one. If she ran an orphanage for years, she had to have had one, or she would have gone to jail.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
you and your husband, you and your husband would have had. You and your husband would have been seen as kidnappers if you didn't have a license as an orphanage. So you would have, and you had that orphanage for years, so you would have been able to acquire one and pass the test. So you know that basically, in order to acquire one, you have to be able to pass a certain set of standards, i.e., care for the children, house them, have a steady enough income
Maybe
or
not
wealth.
have like a dirt floor.
So the other question is it possible to like rent a different place in Corvosa? Can we find like a house?
Yes, certainly. So what I was going to say was that if you guys choose to go that option, Miri has the legal paperwork, so to speak, to do it. You would still have to get it up to snuff in the sense of you'd have to be able to pass those minimum requirements.
Are you going to make us put some of our gold towards that?
Well, yes. If you want to go that direction, then yes, you would have to invest some gold into it. But I'm not going to make it be your whole.
Real quick.
You guys aren't going to be able to afford a penny.
Real quick to just metagame a little bit. That big stone beehive is where her husband died, and where his remains are. She's not leaving.
The truth of the matter is, and you guys can pull this up. It's in your handouts. The renting of buildings in Corvosa. The thing is, most of what you can rent in Corvosa are apartment suites, a few houses, but generally speaking, you're not going to find much for rent that is big enough to do what you need to do.
Not to mention, who wants to rent to like 10 kids? Right?
Well, yeah.
You'll never get your security
maybe in the
deposit back,
Heights you
Jesus.
could find.
No.
Maybe in the
deposit back,
Heights you
Jesus.
could find.
No.
Not with Fleck.
Like, for example, if you even look at it, the only houses that you can find for rent are in the Heights, which is the rich part of town, or the Midland. You can find some maybe in North Point. And the renting is not that bad. You might be able to find a house big enough to do it. But that said, again, add a character a little bit here. If you decide to take Triana up on her offer, that 10,000 gold would not be made available to you. It would be used solely to help build up the orphanage.
Yeah.
And 10,000 gold is a lot to get, considering you already have a base and a foundation. If you wanted to go that route, it could make it passable, as in there's a roof and a door and, the basic necessities.
Hey, maybe like a bed and shit.
But this would be, if you wanted to go this route, this would be a project that you would, every so often, when you guys as players wanted to, contribute to. And the more you contribute to it, the better it becomes.
Could we go around town and have a fund for Murray's orphans?
Do whatever you
here
want.
To collect for Murray's orphans?
This is a pen and paper game. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Think about it. That would be an awesome way to get into
Well,
people's
we can
stories.
if we're talking about a character, we could
be
literally
the
have
Jehovah's Witnesses of Corvosa.
Yeah.
We could just have Otto go to the same
For
few
sure.
places over and over. People who are willing to donate. They wouldn't even know.
Yeah, totally. I wanted to ask Otto if you could take down payments for making stuff as blacksmiths and then just keep charging the person over and over.
Something tells me they wouldn't remember me, but they'd remember paying somebody.
Yeah. It's not like it's a black hole in their life. They just don't remember him. They still remember they gave someone money to make something.
I paid your associate.
So we can slip back into character. I just want to let you guys know what your options are. You can, of course, look for other places to place them. You can, of course, look for another place to rent, or you can build up what is already there.
Well, Muri's already said she doesn't want to leave, and
right,
it would be.
So I think this is a conversation we need to have in character, though.
Sure. Why don't we do this? Why don't we say this? There's a little bit of time skip, because you guys were making breakfast at 3 a.m. Why don't we skip ahead a little bit to say 8 a.m? You guys have had a little bit of rest, breakfast is ready, and you're having a conversation over breakfast or something. Sound like a plan?
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, then I'll just let you guys have at it.
Amelia's passed out in the corner.
The soup pot is pretty much almost overflowing with how much soup there is. And it is absolutely full of vegetables and fish and bugs and it's just a huge soup pot that's just been boiling for hours. There's also eggs and bread and she keeps pulling up flagstones and there just keeps being food under there and you're not really sure how many flagstones she can pull up, but it's pretty cool. There's
like a
keeps
magic
being
trick.
yeah, it's just there keeps being food produced. You're not sure how she's doing it.
So Arlen kind of looks at Murray and says, squirreling this much food away, it seems like preparing for a home, taking care of people, this is something you want, but you seem kind of reluctant. What's going on?
She doesn't really pause in what she's doing, but she's very thoughtful in her emotions. And she thinks about that question for quite a while, and you start to think maybe she didn't hear you. But she does answer you, and she says, "There are many eyes in the world, child. There are many eyes in the world, and not all of them have good intentions behind them. This place is old. This place has seen blood. These walls were not always..." She just kind of flicks the wall and in a way that makes it clear she's talking about the scorch marks.
Mm-hmm.
There are many eyes in the world, and some of them are on me. Our task with Gadrian Lamb is far, far from being done. But his eyes turned on this place and turned it into what it is. I don't know if I could live through seeing it happen again.
So, should we leave?
This place is old. This place is old, and I was, up until several days ago, defeated. I am an old adversary, and perhaps not even one thought of as a challenge anymore.
So Arlen kind of looks at Weary and says, this is Corvosa. There are eyes everywhere. They look at everything. Everything is watched. Everyone is watched. We all have eyes on us, no matter where we go. Why not use this, take this place, and view it as a phoenix, a resurrection from the ashes. We all need a place to be from. We all need a home, a family.
Yes.
Whether we're a small child or an adult, we need a place where we feel like we belong and people that we fit in with. And you feel like this place was vulnerable before, and perhaps it was. And I'm not trying to discredit that. But now you have more people here, more people willing to help, and more people willing to protect it.
Mm.
Why not open it up to those who need a place to go?
Because the same people who vow to protect it are the same people who have vowed to wring Gadrian Lamb's neck. How quickly would you abandon your goals for mine?
That's tough. I tried to abandon my past. I tried to abandon the city. And yet, as much as I tried to run away, it didn't work. And as much as I tried to build a new life and find happiness somewhere else, I couldn't. I had to give everything up again. Everything I had in the city was taken from me. I tried to build a new life, and I had to give it all up because of the city. All I want is a place to belong, to be, and I know that is exactly how these kids feel. They just need somebody there, somebody holding them as their point of origin, their point zero.
So what do you propose?
I don't know. I want to have a place for these kids, have a place for us. I want to destroy Gadrian at the same time. I want to make this place a better place. I want everybody to be free and safe. And if that means that my happiness and my life is forfeit, I will give whatever I can to help make a better place for those around me, whether that's these kids, and if that means that I have to fight and protect everybody, that's what I will do. What about you? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to do to make this place better for not just you, but the future generation?
That is why this place was made.
So shouldn't we make it again? It's not just you and your husband anymore. You have other people now, more allies, more people with you.
But will they stay? Or will they chase their own dreams?
I've already tried to leave the city, and I found it doesn't work. I've tried to leave. I tried to run far away. Gave up everything I wanted. Gave up my entire world. And it followed me. I tried to build a life outside of this city. A life of peace and love and freedom. And it didn't work. And everything I had was put at risk again because of the evil and the problems with this city. And I'm here back, and I'm willing to do anything I can, because as long as the corruption, as long as Gadrian lives, I don't have a life. I don't have a choice but to deal with him, to destroy him. So I am here, and that is my entire life's commitment. That is my existence. Because everything I want, everything I desire, is nothing if he's still alive.
For my part, if my daughter's here, I'm not going anywhere. I think that seemed pretty obvious.
Otto, just a quick note as well. Most people would have forgotten you by now. I mean, even in your presence, usually sticking around you helps, but I mean, it's been over half a day, and they've never once asked who you are.
That's occurred to me. I just haven't said anything quite yet.
Yeah, right, just making sure you know as a player. Yeah. With the silence, you'd hear a loud slap as Flack climbs up on the table with a spoon in his hand. He says, "Flack think being silly. This man, evil man. Evil man do evil things. Flack says, if this man come, cut him up, put him in a stew. You're heroes. Flack saw. Big heroes. Who better protect kids than heroes?"
And Arlen kind of walks over to Flack and puts her hand on his head and like rubs his head like you would kind of a dog, kind of ruffles his head if he has hair.
He has no hair.
So I mean, ruffling like you would
just
if he had hair.
rub his bald head for luck, like a Buddha.
Yeah.
You do that, and like his ears flop back and forth, and he kind of has this look of like the look that a kid has when the mom tries to tussle the hair, like the.
Like, I agree with Flack.
Moiri will very gently pluck the spoon out of his hand and dish him a tiny bowl of soup.
Flack would sit down on the table and start eating it. And Triana would say, "I think what my friend is trying to say is, this man, I don't know who he is, but the way you speak of him, he took these children?"
Yes.
Well, if you aren't, I mean, won't he just try to take them again?
That is my concern.
Yes.
But you rescued them once. That's far more than most other people in this town would do. Do you think that you'd do a worse job than anyone else?
Haven't I already?
No, you haven't. You took a stand. You said no more. You went with us to the dock. You've done more than anybody else in this town would. Except for the people in this room.
And you made us soup. Can I have some soup?
It's the little things, Otto. It's just those little things. It's got bugs in it, but it's still damn good.
Otto spent the last 5 hours just drooling and eating the cookies you gave him.
Most people, Arlen kind of looks at Muri and says, most people wouldn't care. Most people wouldn't give these kids the time of day. Wouldn't even look twice. But you do. You see them. You know.
Pep talk, pep talk, pep talk.
Triana shakes her head. She says, "I think it's more than that. I've grown up in the shingles. I've seen people have kind, good hearts. They exist. They're all over the place. But what they don't have is the courage to be, well, I know flack is flack, but to be a hero. You rescued these children. It's not that many people in the city wouldn't want to, but most of them wouldn't have the courage to.
So Arlen kind of says, look, this is ridiculous. If not here, then where?
Yeah, I'd rather pay rent
Where?
here than to who knows who.
If not here, it's going to be somewhere. Tell us where.
Mary kind of shrugs. She's like, real estate is not something she knows a whole bunch about, and she doesn't really understand the concept of rent very well.
Sounds like my kind of landlord.
So Arlen kind of chuckles, and she kind of looks at Murray like she's got her number, and Arlen says, all right, I understand your hesitation. I understand your concern. If you're afraid of the kids staying here, then make them leave. Turn them away.
There are others who will take them.
So she's...
Perhaps they would be safer.
So do it. Turn them away. Say that you don't want them to stay there. They can't
And who's
stay
gonna
here.
make sure?
Goad me, child.
Who's
I
going to
know
make
what
sure those
choices lie
others...
before me.
I'm just saying, if you don't care about these kids, if you don't care about their future and what's going to happen to them, and you don't think that the rest of us here wouldn't do everything we could to protect them, if you don't think those kids would be safer here than they would out on the streets, then turn them away. Turn us away. Make us leave. I'm not challenging you. I'm saying if that's what you truly believe, then say it.
She kind of sits back on her haunches and kind of takes a breath. You have a busy mouth, child. It will get you in trouble. My doors are open to all.
So Arlen gets this smug grin like she knew it all along. She's like, yes, she won. And say, that's what I thought.
Well, if that's what you thought all along, I suppose you don't want any soup.
No.
Flack will take.
I would love some soup. But also, what's next? How can I put my my tools to work? What's the next step?
The next step is feeding the troops.
Has it been long enough? We can wake them up?
Let them rest. They will wake up when they are ready.
I so always wanted to do that whole, pot and a spoon and just hit it. Alright.
These children have grown up on the
Arlen's.
streets. Waking them up loudly is a good way to, incur violence.
Alright. So Arlen just kind of, sits down and is finally, for once, just quiet.
I will teach you a trick. She
Oh.
goes over to the huge stone dome and pulls out one of the stones, and she lets Arlen look at the mechanism inside. They're the same kind of slots that you would see in any kind of bee house, in any beehive, where they're the big frames of wood, and the bees have built the honeycombs inside. And she pulls one out, and the bees are kind of just kind of chilling in there, and they don't seem to mind her messing around with it at all. She kind of has to pick a few of them off. And she takes the frame over to a large metal drum. There's a scraper on the side, and she sets the scraper on top and starts uncapping the honeycombs, and is showing Arlen how to do it.
Okay, Arlen's like right there, like intrigued and fascinated, and watching intently, almost as if she's taking mental notes.
So, and then she sets the rack up on top, and she says, "You have to let it drain. That way you can get the wax back."
Okay.
The honey, you add water and sugar
drain.
and white powder.
Okay.
And you heat very slowly. If you heat it fast, it will turn to tar. This tar will make anything
heat
stick
slowly.
to anything.
That sounds handy.
It is... it is difficult.
Miri, as you're I'm assuming you're demonstrating this as you're talking to them?
Have you guys ever microwaved honey? That's what she's talking about.
No.
It turns into asphalt.
Right, no, but while you're talking to them and looking at them, you're not looking at the drained honey. You notice that the container you were draining into has been replaced by Flack's open mouth. As he's short enough that he's just kind of pushed it out of the way and opened up.
She just kind of like, very nonchalantly just kind of like scruffs him and pulls him out. She's like, she doesn't even pause in her talking.
And see, Arlen completely missed it. She's just sitting here considering what is the tactile strength between this honey when it's microwaved or burnt versus like animal glue. You know, will this work as a better adhesive for some of the stuff she's trying to make?
It was a good try, Flack. Totally worth it.
Flack like sits down dejectedly, his ears drooping.
And Arlen's like, later, I'll slip you something later.
But she pulls out the little honey candies, and she's got a tray that has obviously been like custom made, where it's like little. Have you guys ever seen a cake pop tray?
No. Oh, a cake pop. No.
Where they're like, it's like a stainless steel tray.
Is it like
this one's made
a
of
reverse cake cupcake?
Yeah, they're like little half circles all the way around. This one happens to be stamped with bees, so the design will come out inverse when she pops them out of the tray. And you can tell that these are the little candies she makes, and she makes little honey candies out of the honey.
So Arlen is familiar with those trays as far as like making items and casting like jewelry and metal and silver and, you know, that's what I use to make arrowheads. But cake pops?
Oh, no, they're just little round candies. That's just like, I was just like, hey, do you know what a cake pop tray is? Because that's what it looks like.
Okay.
But yeah. The bees, now that it is morning, have actually started to wake up, and they're sort of like, they're doing the thing that bees do when they're like drunk flying, where they just sort of like meander around and bump into everything. And they're just kind of flying into you, just like not even like realizing that you're there, and then they just kind of are just like chilling on you.
Yeah, I'm totally not comfortable with bees running into me.
The same Arlen's like, hey, you know, kind of like jumping back, like, oh.
They're not like doing anything, and you can actually see them start working on the flowers, and they seem to gather around Muiri and just kind of land on her more than they do you.
Mm-hmm. That Arlen's like has a bee on her chest, and she's like, Shoo, bee, go to Murray. Yeah, that's where you belong. Go over there. Yeah,
they will not
we're
harm
good.
you.
All right. They just have like a lot of legs and like stingy bits, right? I read about those in a book. Don't they like hurt?
If you try and kill them.
But I'm nice, so if I don't try to hurt them, they won't, like...
Correct?
Poke me?
Correct. For a bee to sting means the end of the bee's life. It is a last resort.
Just move very slowly.
And with that, you begin to hear a commotion off in the distance. It's, like I said, about 8 in the morning. And you hear like what sounds like a buzz, like people talking, even at a distance. And you begin to hear shouts. And very quickly, someone runs down the road past your house, a town crier, running past the house crying, "The king is dead! The king is dead! The king is dead!" And everywhere he goes, people start talking and looking worried, and the street suddenly starts becoming much more busy as people come out on the road and start asking questions. You as players know that the king has been ill for quite some time. You may have even heard rumors that he has some sort of disease, but all the cure disease spells haven't been effective. And the last rumor was that he was getting better. So the streets are getting kind of crowded, and as the entire city starts coming alive and buzzing, there's a talk of unrest where people, because since the king is ill and not doing well, of course you always hear the talk around town is what's going to happen next. Is it going to be the queen taking over? And she's not a native here. You would all know that Queen Eosa is not a native of Corvosa. She is from a foreign land and is not well loved by the people. So the streets around you start coming to life as people start asking questions and shouting and basically making a ruckus by this very tumultuous news that they just heard. I mean, the king of Corvosa dying, that's huge.
So what's that mean for your commission, Blondie?
Well, I mean, I was already paid, but this is horrible. He was a kind man. I thought he was getting better. He looked better. She actually has tear-rimmed eyes, and she was like, I know he was a king and not everyone liked him, but he was kind to me.
So what happens next? Erlyn just kind of shakes her head down. She just walks out. After
Some
that,
other poor fool sits on that cursed throne. That's what happens next.
Arlen's already kind of out of the room, outside.
And I think we'll end the session there. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed episode 5 of the podcast and are looking forward to episode 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth. It was fascinating to watch the players at the end of this session, very much so, especially since, and I don't know if I'm going to detail a lot of the differences between the book and my story, because I don't want to people to know too much. I want to kind of make it seamless. I want the viewer and the players to not know what was the book and what was me. But I do feel sometimes it's important to point out how much players can affect the game. In the book, it said that, hey, after they beat the bad guys, it's going to be a bunch of orphans. Just have them run off into the streets so that the players don't have to worry about them. Or if they really want to, they can round them up or try to, and then dump them off on one of the orphanages in the city. I don't think the writer of the book ever thought that the players would take all of them home with them, like poor lost puppies, and then debate on opening an orphanage. Personally, I think it's fantastic. I'm really excited to see where that goes and what that does, because nothing invests players and I think viewers more than having things at stake. And without me, even as a GM, having to work at it, the players themselves are making great stakes for themselves, because now, even if I don't directly threaten the kids or anything like that, they have something to protect, something to fight for, something that is going to be a massive concern for them. And that's just great world building as far as I'm concerned. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've taken up enough of your time. So until next time, take care, everyone.